Darcia Cuellar, College Career and Technology Program Senior Director here at Region 1 Service Center.
And Darcy, what's been happening here at Region 1? I know it's all about the dropout prevention program that you're doing, but you've had some school districts there, you've had South Texas College, and you've had the Hidalgo County Prosperity Task Force that's so interested in your work.
Right. So what we did today was really just, we say that it's a collaborative input and improvement, right? So we brought different stakeholders to the table, STC being one of our partners when it comes to make sure that we have that post-secondary success for these students, our ISDs that are involved in this work, and then of course the Hidalgo County Prosperity Task Force. So it was wonderful bringing these people to the table, having great conversations, and we all want to see the community be improved.
And of course the Rio Grande Guardian, we have had Dr. Danny King, Executive Director of Region 1, in our studio for a podcast, and he was promoting the program, to the Dropout Prevention Program, and he was really urging school districts around Region 1 to get involved and adopt those programs, similar to the one he started down at PSJA all those years ago. And he was saying that if they would do that, there's a lot of state money that's available for them.
Right, that's correct. That's
story.
Correct. So starting last July, I was charged with, Darcy, you go out to the Region 1 and talk to the districts and talk to them about this wonderful opportunity, right? One, it does several things for districts, is improve their graduation rates, gives these students that have once upon a time been disengaged to come back to the table, come back to the school, walk away with a high school diploma and possibly some post-secondary credentials. So that's our goal, right? And so we went around Region 1 last year and throughout this year, speaking to superintendents, telling them that there's a great opportunity in providing additional services to their community by reaching out to these students between the ages of 18 to 26 who were previously had dropped out of high school. So we bring them back and we say, well, Darcy, how about funding? What are we going to do with funding? We're all in a crunch. Well, there's some House bills and Senate bills. One of them, the very first one that went back to 2007, is what we used before at PSJA to establish a school that was a dropout recovery specifically for 18 to 26-year-olds. So we talked to them about it. It gives them full ADA funding. You can also get funding from CTE. If you have CTE courses within there, you get school SCE funding. So most of the funding that a regular comprehensive high school gets, this campus is qualified to get as well.
And so, Darcy, it's the case that you went around to the different school districts within the Region 1 service area, and at least some of the school districts showed real interest.
Right. So we spoke to about 7, 8 different districts around the region, and in those conversations, we brought them in for the entire year, and we were hosting consortium meetings, having conversations. Some of them were like, Darcy, this is wonderful. We're going to start the planning on it. We're going to start looking for needs, pulling in some data, looking at numbers, and we'd provide them some direction on how many students do you have from your district alone who are considered or coded as dropouts, right? So this is something that happens when a student doesn't return to a school system. It is a school system's responsibility to ensure that they know where they went, and if they don't, we have to code them as 98s, and therefore they come out as our accountability as a dropout. So doing this initial work, convincing some of our districts to jump on and do this work with us and partner with us. 3 of them are ready to go this August. Actually, PSJ restarted this work last August, so they're going into year 2, and I'm excited to say that the schools that are opening will be Wesco ISD and Ed Couch Elsa ISD. So they have their 2 facilities. We're starting to enroll students to come in, and we're starting school next month in August.
So a big shout out to those 3 districts.
Yes, the courage that they have to come out and do this work. We're so excited and believing them. We're there to support them. We've done this work before. We know how it changes lives and it changes communities. So it's very gratifying work. And once you see the outcomes, there's no doubt that it's the right thing to do for our communities.
There's plenty of school districts in the valley, a lot more than those 3. That's a small number probably. So you've still got some convincing to do.
Right.
Is it the case that those school districts didn't realise, still do not realise that there's funding available? Could that be the issue?
And I really don't want to think of what it is that's holding them back, right? But we try our best to kind of inform them and support them. But there are about 4 districts on deck. We're waiting for final, ready to jump in, hopefully. And like we said, we can do this work quickly. We already know what data sources to pull out, how we can get the armies and the people in place to go out and do this work. So we know how to go about doing this work. So we just need 2 to 3 weeks to get them going. But there are about 4 districts on deck ready to go. So we're excited. We can't name them until it all becomes formal, but we're ready to go with some of those. I'm not sure. I think a lot of the times it might be there's so many other things vying for superintendents and school boards' attention, and there is in districts. And so it has to be something that they're really dedicated to do, something that they're believe in, and we're here to support them. Once they're ready, we're here to support them to do that work.
Let's go back to the legislature's role in this. When we interviewed Dr. King, and back then he was the superintendent of PSJA, the way he explained it in the podcast, he said he couldn't believe it. He had to call some school finance experts up in Austin and said, "Have you checked what this new law says?"
Right.
And
right.
he said that a few years later he actually got to meet the author of that bill, or the state representative who added that as maybe a rider within the budget, Scott Hochberg out of Houston.
I want to say Houston, yes.
And thanked him and said, did you realize what you were doing? We've taken the ball and run with it, basically. So that legislation was passed so long ago.
Right.
And so there's so many, all that funding has been there all this time.
Right, that's correct.
Potentially.
Right.
Your thoughts?
So once that happened in 2007 was the original that was written, and then they decided should we go back? I know Dr. King was called back to testify before the House and the Senate, and so then in 2011, just to make sure to solidify that, they passed Senate Bill 975. So it pretty much solidified that belief and that work and the funding and so forth. And one of the couple of things that they added was optional calendar, flexible attendance, right, which made this work even easier. So one of the benefits for flexible attendance is for them to students, we need them to be on campus for 4 hours, but the district can generate funding for 8. So we need to make sure that they're there for 4, and 4 is plenty because we know that these young adults have lives going on. So 4 hours is pretty much a lot of dedication of time and effort for them to put in. So that's usually how it works with the 4 hours, but that kind of solidified, that second Senate bill is what really solidified the work and the funding, and that what we were doing was right on.
And in today's presentation, you were pointing out just what a special group of students these are. These are not a regular high school student that is very comfortable with academic study.
Right.
You have to have a special way of educating them, of cajoling them. And you were saying in there, maybe in the first year you give them a lot of what they want and just a little bit of what they need.
That's correct.
And in the next year it's half and half.
Right.
Third year that you give them more of what they really need and a little bit of what they want. For example, a student that really wants to be a welder.
Right. So a couple of things, and it's all individualized plans for each student, right? Everyone has their story and why they did, and many of these decisions that these young adults had to make when dropping out of school, they're hardships. They've gone through really tough times, and you go back and listen to their stories, and you kind of wonder yourself as an adult, I might have done the same thing had I endured some of what the trials and tribulations this student had gone through. So first, it really is make sure we pull no judgment on these students that are coming back. But the second thing is, where are they at and where do they want to be? And then again, our approach to this is what we've added from when we were doing this work previously, is really an approach that I refer to as recover, restore, and redirect. So we recover these students where they're at, bringing them back in, restore them at the same time, because we need to restore their confidence in the education system. Someone failed them. We could have handled things better. We're the adults in the system, so that's one. And then when we talk about redirecting, is building that confidence that the students have that they can do more than just a high school diploma. So those are the conversations. There's each one of these stages, and this approach has strategies to it. And many of we always look to finding the best practice and evidence-based strategies.
And we heard from the teacher that's so involved in this at EdCouch, Chelsea. And she was saying the same thing you did. Why are we doing this? Why should we do this?
Right.
Because we failed the kids.
Right. And a lot of the times I'm cautious of saying that, but I don't want anything thrown at me. But today was Dr. Benavides. She's the superintendent at EdCouch Chelsea, and she's done this work before. And she says, Darcy, I do this work, and I do it because I know that at one point we failed these students. One way or another, we failed them. And my addition to that is they're adults. These were children at one time in the school system, and either we failed them academically or socially, emotionally without those supports. And so we lost them. They became disengaged, and we didn't intervene as quick as we should have. So it is a lot of the adult behaviors, unfortunately. We just need to bring these to light and then just really refine what we do and be aware of these practices within the school, and then we can look at preventive measures, right, to keep them from dropping out.
And tell us how pleased you are that the Prosperity Task Force, the Hidalgo County Prosperity Task Force, has picked up this issue.
Right.
They're really pleased with
Right.
The initiative from Dr. King, and they want to do everything they can to help you.
I'm excited. I feel like we have another advocate out there for us on our side, and they see the value in this kind of work, and they can already see how these adults can be added value to the community. So we're excited to have them on board and pushing the word out. And actually this morning I got in to sit in one of their little a small committee that they have in policy, and got to present to them what is it that we're doing, how are we doing it, and so forth. So we're excited that they're on our side and they're supporting us. We can use all of the support. And so we also have other this throughout the state. We're working with an Aspen Institute in the state. They're called the Texas Opportunity Youth Network, and she's also put us out there and ensures that what our work is getting noticed out there. So we've worked with two foundations, very promising, that we're going to get additional funding, and all this funding is going back to our partnering schools. So we're excited about that.
So you're saying that two big foundations have heard about this,
Right.
heard about your initiative, and they want to come in and help financially.
They want to help. They want to be part of this. They want to make sure that we have all that we need. And I think they like what they see, and that they've seen that it's been proven practice previously. So we're excited about that. And there's also 2 or 3 ESCs throughout the state that have come to ask, what is it that you're doing, and how are you doing this, and how can we support? So we've had additional districts from throughout the state show interest in this kind of work.
And going back to the task force, we had one of the key players in the task force, Mario Reyna, in the meeting today, and he had, of course, a former dean of business
Right.
at South Texas College, and he said to his former colleagues who were in the audience,
Right.
some of the STC leaders that were there, South Texas College can help here. You could set up your own charter school and bring them all back.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
he sort of threw that challenge out there. Were you expecting anything like that? What do you think?
Well, I think because he knows, he brought up a number, and I was taken aback. He says there's 150,000 adults in Hidalgo County who do not have a high school diploma. And he says, and last year, through our adult ed programs and throughout the county, he said we graduated 1,000. He says, it's going to take us 150 years, and then what's going to happen? So it's kind of a challenge. We cannot just graduate 1,000 of these adults per year, and then the challenge would be to add that to it, at least increase it to at least 10,000 a year. And we have the know-how. Our school districts, they're professionals at this. This is they know the curriculum. They know all the ins and outs of educating adults. So we have all that we need to do. We just kind of need to organize ourselves and get this work going. we're excited.
Well, Darcy, thank you so much for explaining it so well, and we've learned a lot. And for me, you have filled in a lot of the blanks from that podcast with Dr. King. A few things I wasn't fully aware of. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Any message you want to give to the school districts one more time?
I think just our community, this is what we owe our communities as school districts. We have the knowledge, we have all the resources at the school districts, and it's really changing our communities and extending the service to the 18 to 26 year olds, and just how wonderful we'll see the impact throughout Region 1. We're excited.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yes, sir. Thank you.